Hi guys, and welcome to my first Rambling Weekly with my faster internet. Still unstable though, because I'm not quite sure, because I should in theory get 50-20. If I do a speed test I get like 30-20, but if I download I get my full 50. But the upload is something that I haven't tested yet. I just installed Net Speed Monitor or something like that. That should show me next time if I upload something, if I get it, because it doesn't seem like 20 upload, even though I've tried it and I get it. But if I do a upload, maybe it's also the YouTube, if I download something, if I upload something, a video, it just shows me the wrong value. So I don't know, because that's not always reliable. But at least it's way faster. 20, or at least close to 20 instead of 1 is a huge difference. And I told you that once I have the fast internet, these weeklies can possibly become a lot longer if I have the topics, of course. If I don't have the topics, and maybe these topics today's, you will see them somewhere here around, aren't maybe that great, you can see them. And I'm not quite even sure what to talk about yet, because I just make some notes about some topics and then whatever happens, happens. But yeah, let's not waste more time. The only thing that I wanted to say, I need more picks right now. I have, I think, 69. Yes, 69. I got, I think, like 6 after the last one. I want definitely more, just that we have more variety. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to quickly mention, I did already cross the 9,000 subscriber mark last video that I did, but that wasn't an official rambling, just a test rambling. So yeah, I've crossed 9,000. By the time now I am, I think, 9.2. Sadly, my wish to get 10,000 until the end of the year didn't get to happen, but it never did in terms of statistics when I checked it. It always turned out to be somewhere maybe February, March. It always depends. If December, which usually is a good month for every YouTuber, is a good month, I could get a little bit closer and maybe get it at some point, maybe January, end of January or February, which would be great if I actually get it, because if I actually think back a little bit, I would have never expected. Let me lock the chair so I won't wobble too much. I never would have expected to get it, because there are two major steps as a YouTuber, at least for me, that I reached. The first one was, of course, 1K. I never thought that would be possible, but it sometimes, or at least starting this year, it started to grow a little bit more consistently, more higher, and then at some point, I think it was at about 7,500, 8,000, I noticed, wow, I could actually make it to 10, which is a huge step. But then you also have to consider, right now, if I upload this video, it should be the 303rd or 304th video. And that is way too much for 10K subscribers. Okay, I know there are a lot of YouTubers, I don't think actually that much, who have made a lot more videos and don't have that many subscribers. But I also know like some, they did like 30, 40 videos and have already 70,000 subscribers. And we also had always that point, those are way more, and I talk about tech channels, just so we are clear about that. And I always said it, it's a quality driven thing. Everyone always says consistency and quality. Consistency I think I have. I don't always release them nicely spread throughout the week, but I do at least like 3 videos a week. And that's for someone who's doing it by the side on its free time, with all the devices that I just get without actually paying for them. So loaner units, that's quite an achievement. Not the most early reviews. I always get the device a little bit later, like the G4, that I'm pretty sure I'm the last review on earth who has it. But I got it, and in some way I am disappointed that I needed 300 videos, and by the time I get to 10,000 I'm sure I will be by 340 already, or 330 at least. And it's a little bit disappointing to see then, if you see a channel that is on for about half a year with 30 videos and gets already 70,000. So I'm clearly not doing any content for the mainstream media, because this video will be released, of course, Sunday, like every Rambling Weekly, or sometimes Saturday. But this is always my worst day. But I still decided to do it because I really like to talk with you, and I get a lot of comments recently on all those ramblings. So that's why I do them, because otherwise I lose most of my subscribers on Sundays, and mostly right after releasing weekly. And maybe that's a coincidence, but maybe not. Maybe Sunday's also the day where people have a little bit more time, check their subscribe list, and then see, yeah, I don't really watch that guy, so that's okay. And I also noticed the last few weeks, the views of my subscribers percentually are even less, because they were at about 4.5, 4, and now they are at 3.5 this month. So you see, I ramble a little more because I'm talking always almost 6 minutes now just about that, but I wanted to get that out of the way. So, but since I have the G4, I finally got to play with the first Snapdragon 808 device, and here is what I think so far of the 808. It definitely has very good standby drain. It seems really, really good. The drain in actual use doesn't seem to be particularly well done. Not really much better than the 810 so far. It is better, but it's not as bad, because on my first cycle on one day, I barely, not even made it to 4 hours. I'm not seeing that great battery life that some people are seeing. It is solid, it is good enough for one day. I'm just on my second cycle right now, or third cycle, so not too much to say yet. But from what I see, the standby drain works really good. The normal drain in use, nothing particularly well, because I also did my YouTube test, and it took about 9% in half an hour of YouTube, which is not that amazing. I've seen devices that get 7. Which makes on an hour, or maybe like there are devices that make like 12 to 15% an hour. This one would be at 18 to 19, which makes quite a difference, because that's just a YouTube test. In use, it didn't seem too much better. Yeah, you get it. But about the performance, I gotta say, it's not even close to what the 810 did deliver on the M9, because the M9 was one of the best performing devices that I had this year. The only one close was the S6 Edge Plus and the Mate S with the Kirin 935, and that's why I also made a Google Plus post where I said the 3 best SoCs are the Exynos 7420, the 810, and the 935, the Kirin. But that is just the raw, maybe not raw performance, but the potential you see. Because yes, I know some people say the Exynos is very performant, but TouchWiz box it down. On the S6 Edge Plus, I didn't see that. On the S6 Edge and on the S6, I saw that, but on the a little bit. And of course, there's always the harsher RAM management. But on the S6 Edge Plus, it seemed really great, and you could see that once things were performing well, the performance was absolutely amazing, and nothing could get close, unless maybe the 810 was performing well, because that was also extremely smooth. And the 808, I never saw that extreme smoothness. It is very smooth, but not amazingly smooth. And it's also not really fast, because of course now you could say it's the LG UI. It performs a lot better on the Moto X style, for example, but I will see that, I think, on Tuesday, because I will get mine on Tuesday, and then I will know more if it's the LG UI, which I don't think, because I've used many LG devices this year, and I didn't seem to think that the LG UI would really bog it down compared to other devices with the same SoC. So not super fast, quite smooth, but also not super consistent, because I see a few apps that run very well on my 801, but don't run so well on this one here. And I'm still saying the 805, for example, in the Nexus 6, still kicks this one's ass without any issues. So the 808 is a good SoC, but not great yet. Not really that convinced. It didn't blow me away at all. The next topic, are you a gamer? And here I gotta make a little introduction, or to clarify a few things. When I say gamer, I don't mean mobile games, because I don't consider these as gaming. This is casual gaming or something like that. I'm talking about if you are a console gamer, then tell me if it's PC, if it's Xbox One or Xbone that I had just recently heard, and the PS4. And which games are you playing? Maybe the genre in clear, because I'm personally, I like racing games a lot, because they are very easy to get into. You don't need long introductions, because I just right now, since I'm reviewing 2 gaming laptops, started many games fresh, of course, and then you have through the long process of the intro, the tutorial, the getting into, and that is so annoying as hell. And in racing games you just don't have that, and it's easier to approach. Of course, once you are in a game, invest more time, that's not a bad thing to bother. But if you review more devices, there are just many cutscenes that you can skip always at the first time, and it takes a lot of time. So what kind of games do you play? The genre or specific games? And yes, I did download Battle 4 now, and I will check it later. The connection did finish out, so the download didn't finish, but I will test that also. I tried Fallout just for a few seconds, can't say much about it yet. Call of Duty, I played a little bit. It's not that bad actually. After playing it for a while, the Black Ops 3, it's not that bad, it's okay. But I haven't played it on the best device. I have to try it on the Alienware yet, because the performance on the Dell Inspiron didn't quite get me there always, but it's okay. So that's it. Which games and on which console, and why specifically? Because why don't you have a PC? Is it the upgrading? Because that was the last case for me. I was tired, but that was over 10 years ago. I was tired of always upgrading my PC to be on the newest level. But I see if you have now a more, because I think the development has slowed a little bit down, because back 10 years ago, a little bit more, gaming or at least 3D graphics cards were still making big steps. And when you had a PC that was good, now, maybe half a year it was shit. But these days, if you have a decent one, it holds up for quite a while. At least you can turn down the graphics, and you have a lot more variations to get games running. And that's why, but not that's not the main reason why I will get into gaming a little bit more, because I had to make the video editing PC anyways, and then I just have the hardware for gaming. Otherwise I wouldn't have. But consoles, I got totally out of it, because if I see the current generation, the Xbox One and the PS4, and see their graphics compared to a PC, it looks like a joke. It looks like 5 years behind, even though it's the same engine and everything. And no, sorry. It is great for casual gaming on the couch with friends. That's where I would definitely prefer it, because I would never play a PC game with my friends unless it's online. But at home, definitely the console is the better one, and that's why I would choose that. But if I just want to play on my own, the PC really kicks ass. The next question. I don't know why I always put an S behind so many words. Yeah. The next question, are you a creator? Because I would really like to know, because I don't personally know a lot of YouTube creators or content creators in person. I don't mean in person, I mean in general. I know some of them via Twitter or maybe a little bit on Google+, but I would like to know if some of my subscribers are actually creators, what content you create, and just give me a little bit about that, because I would really like to know, because I don't think many of my viewers are that. And I thought about doing a little like a beginner's guide for YouTube. And the one thing that you always, if you make a video, you have to make a unique point. And my unique point would be, because you see all those how to start YouTube from the big guys who already made it. And I think it's a little bit different if, for example, I would do it, who do YouTube for over 2 years and still haven't even 10k subscribers. But I learned a lot through the day, mostly because I still learn a lot from those big guys, but also from smaller guys. I know a lot of smaller channels now, and I talk about sub 100k that show me a lot of things that I wouldn't get from the big ones. And I really know to appreciate that, and that's what I could give people, or I could give people, the starting YouTubers, things they shouldn't do, because I did a lot of things wrong, and I still do a lot of things wrong, but knowingly. I know a lot of things that I do, like these ramblings. They hurt actually, maybe not my reputation, but my viewers, my subscribers, and the view time and all that. It bogs a little bit down, but I don't care, because I do it for the fun as I do my whole channel. And I noticed that too many new YouTubers, or at least on these guides, I see people recommending them if you want to be successful. And that's, I think, the first thing that you have to decide for yourself if you do a YouTube channel. Do you want to get it famous? Do you want to get successful, or do you just want to have fun and share your thoughts with other people? Because yes, I know everyone says I'm doing it for the fun, I'm doing it as a hobby, but back in your mind you always have the attention. I want to get review devices, I want to get big, I want to get all that, and that was always a low priority. Of course everyone wants to get big, of course I would like to have 100k subscribers, but that's not the main intention, because otherwise I wouldn't do videos like these, because these videos take still a lot of time to make them, and they are actually not of benefit for my channel. For me they are, and that's the important thing, because I get a lot of likes compared to the low views, but I get also a lot of comments, get closer to my subscribers. And even though these are less, a lot less than I have subscribers, but the core that watches this video is the important thing. And I always told it, I'm doing this video for the core. And actually, yeah, I make these videos like this for the core. And the reviews, I know a lot of the viewers of the ramblings actually told me they don't watch most of my reviews and all that. I'm totally fine with that. I don't expect you to watch every video, even though I know there are a few that do, but not many. But of course, a lot of reviews that I do, if I would subscribe to a channel, because I have quite a big variety of devices, because I review tablets, I review sometimes, not that often, like apps or so, but then also laptops and also small little gadgets. And if I would subscribe to such a channel, I wouldn't watch all of them either. So let's not fool anyone here. One thing that I saw yesterday was a poll, and someone asked, what's the best Android phone? Should I get the Note 5 or should I get the Nexus 6P? And for me, this comparison makes no sense at all, because here's how I see things. No Samsung user that considers a Note 5 or a Samsung fan would ever consider to buy a Nexus 6P, in my opinion. And I think also every Nexus fan would never really consider to buy a Samsung device, because these two devices are pretty much as far as it can go between in terms of user experience, because the Note 5 is features and fashion, because the device looks very nice. You have the pen, you have all those gestures with the swiping to make a screenshot. You have a few gimmicky features, not that many anymore, and that's totally fine. You get things like dual window, you get so much stuff. You get this great AMOLED display, but you kind of get the Samsung, which is similar already, because we all know it. Samsung wants to get closer to the reputation of Apple. And I see people behaving on Samsung devices a lot like they do on Apple devices. They always defend them. They always see just the good things, don't want to see the bad things. And if someone says something bad, they say something bad. They like TouchWiz. Some love Samsung and don't like TouchWiz, which is a little bit odd, since I personally don't love Samsung, but I like TouchWiz. It's totally fine for me, so I don't get it, but they try to defend it always. And of course, every Nexus fan, of course, defends Nexus as well, and I totally get that. And so I just see it from my perspective, being someone who always liked the Nexus program, even though I didn't like all the Nexus phones. I definitely wouldn't really consider the Note 5, because the Note 5 is an amazing device. I'm pretty sure of that, and I'm just talking about my experience from the S6X Plus. And display great, the performance in this case was great, but there are a lot of things that for me would already be more than a deal breaker. And that one reason, which is really silly, I couldn't make a gesture on any app to get the notification shade down, because usually always on the right border in the middle I have a long press on the side to bring the shade down. Maybe you can actually see that. Let's try it. I'm not quite sure if you will see it. If I do a long press now, and yes, the G4 is not the best example, because the G4 has terrible screen precision on the side, but usually I do a long press here and then the notification shade gets down. So on a bigger device I can still use it, because it's always a stretch. Of course, now I have this button here on the LG G4, but that's not a reason. And this gesture doesn't work. Samsung kind of removed it out of their API or something like that, so it doesn't work, and that's already reason enough for me. And a few other things why I wouldn't consider it. I also don't like the home button at all. It's just in the way. The fingerprint scanner in the position is also not that great, but I don't like it on the back as well. But my point is, Nexus P, Samsung are so far apart. At least let me know if you think the same, because if you think the same, or let me know if you as a Samsung user or Samsung fan, or you as a Nexus fan would consider one or the other, because I don't think anyone who would consider one would consider the other, and that's why you can't really say which is the best Android phone, because I always see someone saying, or a lot of reviewers saying, the best two devices right now are the Note 5 and the Nexus 6P, but I think a comparison, of course it makes a lot of sense if you see just from a hardware standpoint or from an objective standpoint, because if I would review both of them, I would say display here is better, sound is here better, performance is here better, better feel in hand is on this case, and all that. But in the end, I would say, you know what? Maybe this one is a lot better in these cases, and this one is lower. But in the end, I'm pretty sure it's whichever you prefer. Is it stock Android or is it Samsung? And it's pretty much the same comparison as if I would do, for example, instead of the Samsung, I would say the Apple iPhone. Apple iPhone or Nexus 6P. You can compare the hardware, you can compare it objectively, but in the end it doesn't matter, because an iPhone user wouldn't really consider the 6P, and the 6P user or a Nexus user would never consider the iPhone. And it's pretty much the same case by now already with the Samsung, even though you still have a little bit more closer resemblance due to Android. That's it. So, the next point, Android needs a DPI scaling without root, and that's the one thing that I noticed on all the bigger devices recently. They have a high resolution, they have a big screen, and yet I don't have more screen real estate. I get on a 5-inch or lower than 5-inch, let's say 4.7-inch, I get pretty much the same real estate as on a 5.5 or 5.7-inch, and that's just not right, at least not for me. Because yes, I know a lot of people actually buy bigger devices because they have maybe weaker eyes and it's easier to read, or you can go far away, the media experience is better. And I'm all fine with that. But for someone who uses a way lower DPI on my personal devices with root, I would like to see that on Android, because the only thing you can do on Android is change the font size. You can make small, you can make big. And on every device I review, I always use the smallest possible one. But on my phone, on my personal one, that's not good enough. And if I root it, I then use a lower DPI, a way lower, sometimes by 20-30%. And this makes a huge difference, because even though I have a smaller screen, I see a lot more, because my Sony Xperia Z5 has a 5.2-inch screen and I reviewed devices with 5.7, and I still see more on my device. Of course, a lot smaller, but that's fine, because why do you have a resolution of 1440p where everything is super crisp, but you don't make advantage? Because of course on Windows the big negative thing is the higher the resolution, the tinier things get. And if you don't have the proper resolution with the proper size, things get too small. And the great thing about Android is the resolution, it doesn't have any impact, because you always see pretty much the same. But that's the case which DPI they use, and a lot of people on the Note 5 were so happy that they got more screen real estate compared to the S6. Even though they had the same resolution. Why? Because Samsung didn't use the matching DPI that would be the right one for the size and resolution, but they took a slightly smaller one, so you see a lot more. And I would like to have that without root. So if Nexus would give me like an option, make in maybe 10 or 15% steps, make things smaller, or also maybe even bigger, that would make a big difference, because this way, and it's pretty easy, that's the great thing, because on Windows you have scaling like 100, 125, 150, but it just doesn't work out, because so many apps still aren't optimized. And I noticed this on the 15.6-inch with 4K, that things like the media player have so tiny icons you can't use it, and with touch not at all. But the great thing on Android is everything gets smaller, as small as you want it, but everything is accordingly small. So if you could lower the DPI without root on every device, I would use a lot smaller ones, because for me, especially devices like the G4, and I noticed this on one more device I just recently reviewed, I'm not quite sure which it was, maybe the Mate S, where things are just out of proportionally big, because they just grew in terms of size with the screen. But it could have stayed in the same size, but just show me more. And now, the question for me is, do you think the same? Do you want things to be smaller? Because I think in general, the proportions on Android with a big screen are just too big. You see everything just way too big instead of seeing more. I prefer more content on the screen over bigger, because yeah. Okay, that's the one point. Okay, the next point is, do people with less money use less adblock and people with more money use more adblocks? Because I just yesterday, because I couldn't sleep at night, checked some statistics, and I noticed this over the past few months already, that most of my videos of more mid-range or low budget devices get way more revenue. And just for an example, the LG Leon gets half of the views of a Samsung device, for example. It is the case in the Tab S comparison with the iPad. Has doubled the amount of views, but the same or sometimes even half of the revenue. And of course, that is due to ad blockers. And of course, I would be a hypocrite if I would say don't use ad block, because I use it myself. But of course, I would always appreciate it if you would on YouTube turn it off to improve my revenue. But these videos don't make any money anyway, so it's fine. And I also heard a lot of people always saying that you don't get the revenue from your subscribers. These are usually the ones that always skip your ads and you don't make money out of them. But since only 4% of my subscribers watch these videos, it doesn't have any impact anyways. But I noticed that all the low-end devices, the low-end Lumias, the low-end Windows stuff I review, the low-end Android stuff, make a lot more revenue. And who watches these videos? People who want to spend less of, or have a lower budget, or maybe just don't want to spend more, which is totally fine. I don't say you have to be poor to get those devices, because for a lot of people, they just don't need more. Because I know a guy at work. Oh man, I'm starting to stutter. I know a guy at work who earns totally enough money. He could buy like a new phone every, and yet he had this Samsung Galaxy Nexus for I think over 3 years, and which did he switch to the Moto G 2nd generation. So he could have easily afforded something for 600-700, but he thought, no, I don't need it. A low budget device is enough for me. But those people, either maybe they have a lower income and they don't have the budget, or they just don't want to spend it, which is both totally fine. These seem to be the guys that don't use ad blockers so much. And is that a coincidence that all the higher end devices, I noticed that every time I review a high end or more premium device like an Apple device or a Samsung device, I don't earn anything of it, because those people seem to use ad blockers a lot more. And do you think it's because maybe they have more knowledge, because they check the more high-end devices, and the more of a power user you are, the more you use ad blockers because you just know about them? Maybe those people who don't care about a big budget and who don't care about the big devices, maybe they don't care about checking, maybe they don't even know about ad blockers, or they say, I don't make a lot of money and why not? I don't have a problem with ad blockings, or I want to support the people that I watch videos of. Because you always have to think like this. You get all the content for free on YouTube, but there are ads, and you do support the channel by watching these apps. And this brings me actually to my next point, which I wanted to talk about already for a long time, and that is YouTube Red. And yes, I will make it to half an hour, even though I didn't thought I would, because the topics maybe aren't that strong. But YouTube Red. What are your thoughts on YouTube Red? I wanted to ask it for a long time. I actually personally can't apply to it yet, but I'm not quite sure if I wouldn't have to, because I think as a YouTube creator, you just have to opt in, because otherwise you don't get any revenue at all. So either I want to or not, but actually I think if I already have to, I'm okay with that, because the cool thing is I will support the channel still and don't see any apps, so I don't even need ad block anymore, but I have the benefit of not having ads, but to support the channels. But it's not like I would actively support any channels now, it just is the case now. And I still have YouTube Music now. We will have maybe with YouTube Red also some content, some exclusive content, and that is nice to see. And if you hear some like water dropping in the background, that's actually my heating. It's not properly set, and it's annoying. So what are your thoughts on YouTube Red? Would you use it if your country has it, or if it has it, would you use it, and why? Is it because of the ad-free stuff, or do you use Adblock anyways and don't need it that for, or do you like to actually maybe some exclusive content? Do you maybe like YouTube Music or all that comes with that? I'm not quite sure. I personally don't see it as a reason just to get rid of the ads. That's not enough of a compelling reason for me. But since I would have to use it once it gets to my country, I would do, and I would be fine with that, because paying $10 that I already have to, it makes it up in terms of revenue. Even though I gotta say, for the people who thought that YouTube Red will make a big impact on your revenue, you're totally wrong. Because just for example, if I make, for example, which I don't usually do, for example, 10 euros a day, you wanna know what the actual revenue of YouTube Red is? And now I give you a few seconds to guess. $10 a day from YouTube. The revenue from YouTube Red is about 20-25%. Yes. Maybe that's the reason, because YouTube Red isn't broadly available yet. Maybe just not so many people have it yet. Or I think the system is a little bit crooked, because the way I see it from YouTube Red, what I got in terms of revenue is the case that the bigger your channel is, the more watch time your channel gets, the bigger piece of the the YouTube Red pie you get. And then a channel as mine, or like mine, is totally screwed, because my watch time isn't nearly, or at least the percentage isn't nearly on the level of the big channels, and with low amount of views and subscribers, my piece of the pie is, like I said, 20-25 cents compared to 10 euros. And that's just a correlation. It's not always the case like that, but it's a pattern. And the last topic, not to make it crazy long, because I know these videos get actually more watch time in terms of percentage than my reviews or everything like that, but my channel average is still about 3 minutes and 30. And considering my videos are at about 13 minutes to 18 minutes, that's not good. It's a percentage of like 25% at best. And these videos get at least 45% sometimes. But a video with 30 minutes definitely, did I say 30 hours? 30 minutes definitely won't get that. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the Lumia 950 and XL reviews, even though I don't think we have any XL reviews yet. Feelings are a bit mixed, and I think a lot more negative than a lot of people would have expected, because I saw a lot of people saying, look at the specs, Quad HD, 3 GB of RAM, 808, good sized battery, iris scanner, all that. And people said in terms of this, it's a high-end spec package. And then you see reviews, 68%, 72%. The ratings are super low. And I think they did a huge, stupid decision going with a cheap feeling build. Because everyone says, not that it feels cheap, but they say you have a nice looking $300 phone here. But the issue is the 950 is $600 or $650 or so dollars. And it just doesn't feel like it. And that's for me, for example, the issue that I have with the Nexus 5X. I haven't used it yet, but it's 479 euros here. And even reviewers that reviewed it for 399 say it doesn't feel like a $400 device. It feels like maybe $250, $300 device. And those devices have a hard time these days, because we get devices like this that cost 400, and this feels pretty much like 400. This is exactly, it doesn't feel more premium like 400, but it doesn't feel less. But then we have devices like the Huawei 8G G8 for example, $350 device, but just in terms of build quality and feel in hand, it feels easy like a $500 or $600 device, because the build of that is matching a premium device. Same goes with the Mate S, but that is a expensive device, Nexus 6P and all that. And then I think in 2015 you can't release a high-end flagship device that doesn't feel like it. Yes, polycarbonate doesn't have to feel cheap, and I felt a lot of cheaper devices, like for example the Lumia 735 that was made out of polycarbonate, costed like 220, 230 euros back then. Easily in terms of just feel in hand. Maybe not, it didn't make the premium appearance from a $500-600 device, but the feel in hand could easily match or surpass all of them because the ergonomics were just there, the size was just there, and felt super substantial. And this is where the 950 lacks and made a lot of issues that did cost it a lot of percentage. But of course, the big thing still is the app ecosystem, because Windows 10 still doesn't seem to be quite final yet, even though it is. But from the reviews I saw, it's super buggy. But the big thing everyone mentions is the missing apps. You still don't have the big apps. And no matter how well the system would be, if you can't even get the basics covered, and I'm not talking even the real basics, because just the bare basics are covered. You have a Gmail client that maybe doesn't seem to work properly from what I saw. It doesn't seem to make push notifications work out well. But you don't get, I think, an official Instagram app, which should come though. The Facebook app is quite, but there will be a better one. Twitter app is good, but yeah, it's okay. But so many other things, because if I would like to have a TV series app, don't really get that. If I would some more unique or some out of the box apps that are a common thing now on iOS or on Android, you just don't get it. You just don't have a big variety. If you have a Windows device, you have a very, very limited experience from what you can get these days. Because on Android, so much is possible. Even on iOS these days, you have so many really clever, smart apps that can make the experience on a phone that much better. But on a Windows phone, a lot of that is not there. And then a lot of people are talking about Continuum, and I think it's a well overhyped thing. Because everyone says it's great if you don't have a PC or if you don't have a laptop or something, it could replace it and all that. And Continuum isn't working that well yet, and therefore they take off a lot of points. But why do you take off points of a review device that has a feature that no one else has that doesn't work well? Because just see it like this. If it wouldn't have it at all, you wouldn't take things off. But it has something more that just doesn't work well, and you punish it for that. I think you should still see it as a plus. And everyone says, yes, Continuum is great. It's maybe the future. It's a great idea, but it doesn't work out, so we have to punish it therefore. I don't think that's the right reason, because maybe it's not yet useful, and I don't think it's a big bonus for everyone, because I think only the real hardcore Windows users will really use it. Because I see it like this. If you are a real Windows, and you have to be a Windows fan or really invested into Windows in general, and then if you buy a Windows device, a Windows mobile device, I'm pretty sure you have a Windows device, then you do stuff on your PC or on your laptop or whatever else. Because I don't see anyone having a Windows mobile device and not having a Windows PC. Just doesn't make much sense. And if you maybe noticed a little bit of a cutoff, I actually managed to fill up my whole card, because I had a little bit of other stuff, and it's only a 32 gigabyte. So I rambled way too long. And for everyone crazy enough, bored enough, interested enough, still watching, I will cut this off because it was way too long. And just as a question, even though it doesn't really matter, let me know what you think of the longer format. I know it was super long, the topics were a bit weak, but that is a little bit due to we are getting to end of December. There's not much news to talk about. I think there will be a lot better, maybe more interesting topics, but maybe you are also into more off the cuff, maybe not really that news related, not that tech related stuff, so I can also talk about that. But I will talk about whatever I can get up, and I just didn't I didn't find any other topics, but I will cut this off. Once again, thanks for watching. If you are still watching, then you are really amazing. If you still manage to pull through that show, then you deserve all the best. Okay, wish you a nice left of Sunday. It will be quite late. Usually I would upload those later, but yesterday I was very busy reviewing the gaming laptops. Once again, thank you a lot for the comments, likes, subscribes, shares, everything. Until next time, Bye.